What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on DZ Analysis. We're going to be checking out MSTR and Bitcoin. So we're currently sitting at 359.69. We're inside of the structure that we have drawn out, pretty much right in line with it. We'll see how this week finishes. We still have 3 days and 17 hours. The ideal scenario is closing above this mark right here at around 370, 369, somewhere in this ballpark above here, and then using this level as a level of support to continue that move higher. That's kind of what we're looking for. Once we do get that close that we're looking for here, taking a look on the left hand side on the weekly chart, at least, it's a pretty clean move. It looks like a pretty clean move to around 403. So we'll see if we can get that momentum to make that happen. Still think the inverse head and shoulders could be a scenario if we see some kind of rejection here. So if we kind of start to chop and fall back to this level, then that could be the completion of that right shoulder that we're talking about. We already have our left shoulder and a potential head here, so we'll see if it plays out. And then that would be signaling even higher targets. So we'll see if we can make it to this downward sloping trend line again or not. Bitcoin has been rallying, as we all know, touched like 125K or something like that. MSTR has kind of just been keeping up with Bitcoin, not really drastically outperforming or severely underperforming, just kind of keeping up. MSTR divided by IBIT was up 0.17, so practically flat on the day. And when we take a look at the weekly SMAs, we are sitting above our 50, which is nice. Expect rejection here at the 20-week in confluence with this key structure here at 368. So this 370 mark should be a lot of rejection, so be aware of that. That's going to be a very important level that we want to get a close above. So if we can get a close on the weekly at 370, like I said, above this key structure and this 20-week moving average, that's going to be very, very important and very bullish. Right here on the daily, SMAs were incredibly bullish. We're above all three, the 20, the 50, and the 200. And we use the 50 and 200 as confluence together as like a trampoline to catapult price. So this is looking very awesome. Good to see that. On our short-term indicator for moves, we have the 8-day EMA. You can see we have these short-term moves and rallies. It looks pretty bullish right now. We're pumping above it, and that's usually a pretty good sign. We tend to see a little bit of separation and then we revert back to it. So this is just really the beginning, potentially, of a nice move to the upside. On the weekly, we're just breaking above it. As you can see, like if you compare it to any of these over here, you can see once you broke above it, you had 3 more weeks after the fact. So if we had 3 weeks of rallying, for instance, that would take us pretty much to the end of October, maybe beginning of November, depending on how it goes. You can kind of see the same thing happen here. Once we broke above it, we had, about 4 or 5 weeks of pumping up. So we'll see if that same thing can happen here for MSTR on the 8-week EMA. Weekly RSI, we are meeting the yellow moving average right here. We'll see if we actually break through it. Looks like we potentially could have been finding that bottom that we were talking about. We deviated slightly underneath this line where we found previous support at, and we're well above it now, and we just have to break through this yellow moving average, maybe relieve price a little bit, and that'll also, once we break this yellow moving average, we'll more than likely be above this key level of resistance, and maybe that frees up price and it relieves it so it can start to push up a little bit higher at a quicker pace. On the daily, we're looking pretty solid. Very steep move. So the only issue with very steep moves to the upside is that you can see severe drawdowns just as quick. Not to say that it's going to happen like right now or anything like that, but when you get an aggressive move straight up like that, so steep, it can have a steep fall. So be aware of that for the daily RSI. So once we start to see a break of this trend line, we could potentially get some kind of at least reset before continuing the move. On the weekly MACD, The bearishness is slowly declining. As you can see, this is slowly getting more bullish, trending upward, and we are starting to get the blue starting to curl back up, which is nice to see. And on the daily, we've already been looking pretty solid for a while now. We bottomed out beginning of September and kind of just slowly trending higher, making higher highs, higher lows. And now we're getting a nice green hill pushing higher. We'll see if we can get a nice move like that and hopefully break above this downward sloping trend line, or at least make contact with it. On the weekly, so we talked about this in the last video. What we're going to be looking for is 2 solid closes above this upward sloping trend line. Not that there's any kind of definite rule for that, but we have seen one solid close outside of this upward sloping trend line, then the second one closes back inside, and then we kind of chop sideways. Then we broke back above it, solid close, and then the second one closed back inside. So we haven't really seen back-to-back closes outside of this upward sloping trend line. So I do think maybe if we see 2, maybe that's enough momentum to continue this move potentially to this dotted line right here, which is the midpoint of this entire channel that we will more than likely find rejection at. It's this midline here. I don't know if you can see it on your screen because it's slightly dark. So we'll go right there, this white line here, or I'll make it a different color, make it green. So that green line there is about the midpoint for this entire channel, where we've found resistance and support previously. So I would imagine once we make it to that point, it will be some kind of resistance. So be aware of that. We'll, of course, keep you updated on that here on this channel. Right now, we're looking at the weekly close for this upcoming week. We still have 5 days and 21 hours. So a lot of days left to make a move. The momentum has been shifting higher and higher, and we keep filling these wicks. It's looking pretty solid right now. We'll see if the momentum can continue carrying, but we did get our highest daily close that we've seen at 124.7 roughly. So it's looking pretty solid right now for Bitcoin. We'll see if the momentum can continue on. We have our 20 pushing over 50. Very nice to see. And like I said previously, the weekly catapulted price higher off the 20 week. And we are hugging our 20 moving average on the 4 hour. It's holding the trend pretty well. We'll see if we can get a bounce off of it and continue on, or if we actually break this 4 hour 20 moving average and actually fall down to the 50 and get a cool down period before continuing higher. So that's always a possibility. Maybe as this falls down, the 50 is creeping up, and maybe we meet somewhere around here and we find support off of this upward sloping trend line and the 50 on the 4 hour, and that's what catapults us to the next level. Now on the Bollinger Bands, be aware that on the weekly we are finding a little bit of rejection off of the top band, so that's something that you have to keep an eye out for. And on the daily, we've been hugging the red band, which is what we were talking about prior, which we tend to do in major rallies, but at the same time you could be hugging it, but it could also be a sign that we're getting a little overheated, and maybe the next time you don't hug it and you just reject off of it and continue back to the midline, which would take us way down here. Of course, the line will be slightly moving upward with price, so that's something to think about. MSTR divided by IBIT, still not looking the best. We're still underneath this key structure, so right now it's still looking like IBIT will more than likely outperform MSTR in this upcoming period. We'll see if that holds true or not. But right now, this is the pretty much just the way that things have been going lately. Really not much momentum. MSTR is not drastically outperforming Bitcoin on Bitcoin's green days. It's kind of just in line with Bitcoin. So right now, honestly, you're probably better off just holding Bitcoin just in this most recent price action ever since we started, honestly, back here since May. you've just been better off in Bitcoin. Of course, easier said now than, in live time over here. But that's just something that we have to, be realistic about. But anyways, tether dominance is looking very nice. We like to talk about tether dominance here. Honestly, we've been able to kind of have an idea of what Bitcoin might do based off of tether dominance. It kind of gives you that second outlook on it. And yeah, I think it's been working pretty well. We do have this trend that's been kind of established here. I don't know if this is a valid trend line here, but it kind of makes sense. And if that is the case, which we talked about prior, we did get a close underneath this trend line that we had established. And that starts to bring up the idea that this could be a bear flag. We talked about it in the last video, that we had this leg here. You had the push up for the second leg, which if we just measure it out, it doesn't have to be exact. But if you were to take that there, it takes you roughly to the blue line or to this white downward sloping trend line. So we could be playing that out. And the reason I'm saying that is because we actually just broke the structure of this upward sloping trend line and we got a close on the weekly for the tether dominance. So doesn't mean that we can't get a retest, because a lot of the times you do get retests, but we did close underneath. We'll see if the momentum carries us down even further, which would be very nice to see. And if that bear flag plays out, you're talking about Bitcoin rallying even further. If we were to see a sudden drop all the way down to this, that's more than likely going to be our cycle top. That's just my opinion, and I could absolutely be wrong, but I think that it could be a good chance that if it's not the cycle top, it's going to be close to being the cycle top. If we get an aggressive move, that happens very, very fast. But if it kind of eases down into it, then maybe not, because maybe we push down, chop up a little bit, and then get a double bottom or extend a little bit further, and then that's the end of the move. But tether dominance has been looking pretty solid. The next level we want to close underneath is this one here at around 413 on the weekly or daily. That's kind of what we're looking for. We'll see if we can continue that momentum, but it's looking very, very good right now. And a nice sign too is that after this wick right here was down to 418, we actually pierced through that level and made all the way down to 415. So we'll see if we can continue that momentum down further for the week. And on the daily, we look very nice as we got the close at 4.2. We also could be seeing that head and shoulders that I spoke about. Left shoulder here, head, maybe we come back for a retest, and then that's our right shoulder. And then that's when we see our final move to the blue line, and we see some major upside for Bitcoin if that head and shoulder plays out. Also, the same thing could happen without a head and shoulders. It could just still be the bear flag just playing out. It's kind of what we're keeping our eye out for here on tether dominance and for Bitcoin and MSTR. Everything's looking pretty solid right now. Hopefully the momentum carries. Right now, everything's just been pushing up higher. Seems like we're just riding the wall of worry. A lot of people are worried that a recession's coming and things are overheated. But sometimes that's when the market continues to rally because everybody's getting concerned. So it's always funny how the market works. But that's why your core basis in the market shouldn't be based off of trying to time the market. So you can swing trade positions time to time, but I think you should only swing trade positions that you're okay with holding if it goes very, very wrong against you, and then you can dollar cost average back in even at a lower price because you believe in whatever you're swing trading. But overall, the core of your portfolio should be long-term investing, where you're not even trying to time the market. You just DCA into these over time, and then you buy heavier in the dips. And like I said, you can have that portion that you swing trade in, but even then, that portion, it should be something that you believe in overall. But that's pretty much all I have for you guys. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe, drop a comment, let me know what you guys think about it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.